We are in the Worcester County Government Center, boardroom, room 1102. We take a look at our agenda this evening. Number one on the agenda is a review of rental fees for the town, the train station, the Bird Park, and Sturgis Park. And the Fines and Fees Committee have been meeting at least once a month. And Mr. Pollock is ready to explain some of the decision-making there, and we'll pass it on to council and see what they say.
Sounds good, thank you. We do have a little slideshow to go through with some of the basic information we're presenting, but as you know, we were charged some time ago now, it seems, with updating our fees and fines across the board. And we've looked at it various times. We've looked at the police department fees and fines, ones associated with planning and zoning, building permits and such. The subject of today's discussion are the three main rental facilities that the town makes available to the public for use for different events, from a small birthday party to a large celebration and events, all the way up to blessing of the combines. So what we're talking about basically is the train station, Sturgis Park, and Bird Park. So our first, I don't know that we need to read through every slide. In fact, I don't have the control through the slide over here. So there we go. Our basic goals were to standardize and streamline the rental procedure so that we could have some consistency when folks come in. I just said not. See a little place already. So we just want to be able to, when anyone comes in, you know, as we've discussed so many times in so many different conversations, heretofore in town, a lot's been done based on who occupied the mayor's desk or the town manager's desk at the time. It was sometimes a case of who you know, and favors were granted and things were done that weren't always consistent. While the intentions almost always, I'm sure, were good, it does cause problems from administration, especially when you're trying to be fair and treat everyone the same way. So that was part of our goal, was to come up with a standard policy that would apply across the board to anyone wanting to come in and rent one of our facilities, whether it's one of the parks or the train station, or what have you. And of course, when we started this process, the firehouse was also included. But since the condition has made that building uninhabitable, we have removed that from any of this discussion. Also, besides being consistent, we want to protect the town from undue liability and make sure that all the policies, procedures, appropriate ones are in place. We looked at private events versus public events, and we have kind of a definition of those, because each one carries its own special set of circumstances and things that we need to consider. And the next slide shows established rental inclusions, and this points out the similarities that would be shared in all three facilities, and then additional ones depending on the location. Train station can be rented between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. It includes all facilities located inside the building and the outside the parking area. Tables and chairs can be rented for additional fees. Bird Park, Sturgis Park, parks are open and available for rent between dawn and dusk, seasonally variable. Rental includes exclusive use of the pavilions in both parks. In Bird Park, unless otherwise arranged, rental does not include exclusive use of the basketball court, playground, boardwalk, dog park, bandstand, concession stand, bathrooms, porta potties, or the boat launches. And in Sturgis Park, unless otherwise arranged, the rental does not include exclusive use of the lawn, boardwalk, bathrooms, or the kayak launch. Next slide talks about requirements in the process. For all events, though, there is completed rental application and copy of photo ID of responsible party. Now, the rental applications are going to be updated to not only reflect the new fees once council decides on what those fees shall be, but also to clear up things about responsibilities for insurance that might now be a little bit ambiguous. but all events will have the completed rental application and a copy of photo ID, the date, time, and purported or proposed use of the rental, the estimated number of people, and the event type and purpose. Town of Snow Hill DJ and or alcohol application. Certification of liability insurance for the event with the Town of Snow Hill listed as additionally insured and minimum $1 million coverage. They will be required to sign a rental agreement. Security deposit application and signed rental agreement due at the time of the reservation. Under public events, specifically, a written description of the event, including the list of entertainers, promoters, and activities, any requests for foreseen town assistance and resources. For instance, if they need extra police coverage or public works participation in the preparation or the cleanup. Number of expected vendors, estimated number of attendees. A site map will be required. Emergency response plan. Reservations, application packet, and security deposit due 90 days prior to event. Staff will review packet and may require a planning meeting to discuss required town resources and estimated costs. That's a very important feature that we are going to try to diligently maintain so that we can prepare for, anticipate, and address any kind of issues that are better planned ahead of time. 30 days prior to an event, all final application requirements and full payment are due. COI, will account for vendors and registration forms. Food vendors will need to show proof of submitted health department permit applications and insurance. Nonprofits will have to show certificate of good standing. And we suggest planning and approval prior to marketing of the event. Now, what follows is the rate structure proposed by the Fees and Fines Committee. This was developed after comparing similar venues in our area. In fact, in your packet that went out on Friday, I think, refers to several other municipalities where rentals are conducted. Kind of show your cross section of some of the others in the area, what they charge. What you have in front of you here is what the committee recommends be charged as fees, both for in-town and out-of-town parties. Note that the numbers here are hourly figures with a minimum of 4 hours per event that must be met. There's rates for individuals, for a nonprofit organization, and for-profit organization. To say both for in-town and out-of-town parties. And the next page is additional service fees, including things like street closure, extra trash cans, picnic tables, and so forth. So that's basically the gist of what we're proposing. It's all open for questions or discussion if you'd like. If you want to go into specific numbers as far as what the rates look like going forward, please feel free to chime in. Most of the committees actually represented here, Lou and Randy and Larissa and the Chief. They've all been part of this Fees and Fines Committee and are happy to take any questions.
Okay.
I will say that our hope is that if you're comfortable with what we're presenting, that we would have this available for a resolution at next week's mayor and council meeting for adoption to take effect July 1st. So that anybody coming in under the new fiscal year will subject to the new rates.
So, Councilperson Fletcher, do you have any questions? And all of you have in your packet what we used to charge. Okay, everybody knows what we used to charge, and then you can see now the new, what they're proposing from the committee. Do you need any additional explanation on what they're proposing?
I don't, it seems pretty straightforward. There's nothing in here that seems egregious or.
Or outstanding that doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
you?
No, when I read through it earlier, it seemed pretty Pretty standard.
Okay.
So why is it a minimum of 4 hours? Why was that decided?
Would anyone like to address that point?
So when we were discussing this, we were thinking about just what it entails to have an event. Typically, people in the past would even request, that they be given time to set up the night before or break down the next day at no charge. So we try to take into account what, typically is entailed in putting on the event, and build in that time so that way they're required to rent the space for the entire I guess process of hosting the event.
It would be like, Public Works Councilman Flush, because, Lori has it right. Just say, like for us, for the, Lesson of Columbine, or just say, the 4th of July fireworks. You figure I'm gonna have at least 2 hours setting up the comfort station all prior to this even happen. And then we have to take and do other things at the time when we're done. So that adds in extra time, that no one's, getting any money back for or anything like that. That the town is absorbing all the costs, even though the town does help and supports all these, events and all.
So I guess we were both kind of circuitous in saying, it's to cover all of the costs that are associated with that actual event. So staff time, preparation of the venue, any, maintenance or anything that needs to be done to clean up. Public Works goes into, the firehouse when that was being rented, but goes into the train station after every event. Removes trash, mops the floors.
But isn't that in the agreement that that's how it should be cleaned?
So in the agreement, it states that the facility should be returned back into, like, at the end of the event, it should be turned back into the way that it was rented.
Right.
But that doesn't typically include, mopping or, and a lot of times, there's use from the town, especially for the train station, in between those events. So that's also Public Works time. They have to go in and, set up the tables or the chairs or break them down or clean up from whatever the town has used that venue for.
Any other questions? Do you have?
I do, but you can come back to me.
Okay, Councilperson Lee, do you have any questions? No. I'm coming back to you now again.
While Ms. Fletcher's thinking, I can add, it looks like the rental fees have been changed in the code, not consistently to resolution, ordinance, resolution. And normally, if something's in the code, it has to be done by ordinance. Think of all the other updates that we've done recently to fees, like the landlord permit, it's like that. So I think it actually has to be done by ordinance. One thought of something we can do is to make it easier on you going forward. We've done this in other instances, which is take this out of the code, and the code just says rental fees are adopted by the mayor and council by resolution. That way, every year that you want to do it, you just have to do a resolution, like around budget time, if you want to adjust them.
We did that with something recently. What
Yes.
was that for?
That was.
Police?
Police, was that the police? The parking, was it the parking? Yes,
Yeah, parking fees.
yes, we did resolution.
So I think we might have thought that that set the precedent for doing it similarly.
But that had an ordinance that went with it too.
Oh, it did.
Cause I think we were in the exact same situation.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we can get it going next meeting, not a problem.
As resolution or ordinance?
Ordinance,
Ordinance.
but I think we'll have the resolution at the same. What's the first meeting in July? You'll have to.
Second reader in July along with the
With the
resolution.
resolution,
July.
so you'll just get a couple of days after the fiscal year.
The 8th, July 8th.
That'll
That'll work.
And if anybody has this in Word, send it to me, because that's what I'll use that to easily dump it into the, a resolution.
Okay. Sounds good.
So you're saying that the security deposit's gonna be $200. And then it's gonna be $80 per hour? Is that what this chart is saying?
Yes. And then the security deposit is refundable after the event. And that's how our structure is right now.
The complete 200 unless something's damaged,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
So the train station, it would be, the minimum 4 hours is $80 per hour. Is that what it's saying?
Yes.
So that's $320 for rental. For 4 hours. So where would your setups be? The setup time? Because if you're doing a minimum of 4 hours hourly for that, $300. That's just for the train station. But for per part, you have to look at this a different way too. If you're gonna have to pick up a key, mostly on Fridays. You're picking up the key on Fridays. I'm just going by thinking of town hall's hours. Then you wouldn't return the key till Sunday, or you could put it in the door in the slot. That's just giving extra hours without somebody having to be there to get the key. That's giving free hours right there. Some of these, I would like to see the contract before I see actually the prices. I
Sure.
would like to see like a contract made with the prices on it for a person that's gonna really understand. Now, and I'm not saying that it's too expensive because it should go up. The price should go up. These are prices that's been low for a while, but I think it should be better explained to a person who would come, and a person looking at this chart just gonna look at minimum, $80. Somebody not doing math is gonna look at $80 and gonna be upset. I think it should have a chart so that they would actually know what they would be using. I'm just thinking of somebody not really looking at what they're doing, just picking it up. It's saying $80, not maybe the minimum that's up top of here. Because when I first looked at I was looking at the old one, and I was looking at this new one, and I was like, that's still cheap for the train station. but I hadn't even, I was just going straight down. I wasn't even looking at the hourly part. But I do think that should be cleaned up before, we agree on it. I'm looking at it from both sides.
Sure. So we fully intend to update the applications as well as the rental agreements. I think the last time we sent the rental agreements to Maureen, she was like, these need to be updated. And so all of that will be, very explicitly pointed out. We just didn't want to put the time into doing that if we didn't know, kind of what the general consensus was going to be, for the fees and kind of for everything that was presented tonight. We also talked about putting one of the surveillance cameras in the train station because, short hiring additional staff or having somebody, on site on Saturdays. That's an easy way to kind of make sure people are adhering to the time that they are paying for.
Oh, the Bird Park and the Sturgis Park rental. I have mentioned to the mayor, and I think we need to figure out how we're gonna cross that between being a public place and then somebody renting it. I have been to two, well, not this year, but I did go to one this year. But last summer, I had attended a couple of events that was as a matter of fact, they were at both locations. One was at Sturgis, one was at Bird. Both parties had paid to rent the park. They had filled out application. One of them, they could use the bathrooms for down to the park. They paid the extra. But it is public park, but we need to be able, when somebody's gonna pay for it, we need to be able to have it so that the public knows that this has been rented for this amount of time. Because there has been instances, as a matter of fact, at Sturgis Park, the whole pavilion was set up. I was there. And people just come walking their dogs right through the middle of the section that's all set up, beautiful. And the lady got smart with the people who were actually setting their event up. I think we need to figure out that piece because it's not fair to people who are renting it. And then it is it's a public place also. So we need to figure that out. I mentioned signage, not only signage, but I think when it is rented, it needs to be some kind of awareness that people should know that it's being rented and respect the people and parties who are having it. I don't know what way to go about it because so many people are just used to coming around and using that facility.
I can share it. Northside Park Mission City, which is a huge public park with playgrounds, ball fields, pavilions. When they rent the pavilions, which some are like right next to the playground, there's a sign that says rented from 10 to 4. It says who's renting it. That's like the Rec and Parks phone number on it, and they post that on like the 4 posts around the pavilion.
So we,
So like if someone wants to sit there at 9, they can, but once 10 hits,
Right.
they need to
So we discussed this because I know exactly which event you're talking about because I was getting messages from both sides of that conversation that weekend. So, that's actually why we, took into consideration, delineating what is included in the rental and what is non-exclusive use. And so that I think needs to be, better communicated to the renters. But then we also talked about providing the same signage that Maureen was mentioning, at the areas where it's being rented, right? So, the pavilions would be one of those, but if, an event is utilizing basketball courts or the bathrooms or, what have you, there would be additional signs in those locations as well.
So the picnic tables, I'm looking at a picnic table part. The picnic tables are already under the pavilion, but people are gonna have to pay for the picnic tables or is this if they have to move picnic tables from one place to the other?
So a lot of our downtown events, Public Works has to move picnic tables. to
Right.
move it downtown. So that would be what that would be for.
But if I'm renting the Sturgis Park Pavilion for a family party or something and the picnic table's already there, I'm not gonna be charged extra
Correct.
for the picnic tables that are there and available.
It's mainly for like the Orchard Seafood Festival, so we're gonna take the 20-some tables down there on Green Street.
Yeah,
And then
that
take
makes,
some,
that
then
makes
take them
perfect
out,
sense, yeah.
listen to combines, same thing in town parking lot.
That all? Questions you have? Margaret?
For now, I'll come back if I need, I'll email,
Okay,
yeah.
I just have one question there.
okay.
If we're gonna try to get this, where we can do a resolution or whatever it is, Tuesday night,
Mhm.
we will have this done in time, right? All the questions answered, that council people might have, or whatever we gotta do, correct?
Well,
Well, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna agree with it on Tuesday night, that's for sure. I can say that right now.
One thing about it, for first reader, as long as we have a draft with numbers and provisions included, that can be adjusted or amended between the first and the second reader. So you've got that additional month in between the two,
mhm,
before it comes up for a final vote in July.
right, because that's not a final vote because it's an ordinance. The first
The
reading.
first reader just puts it on the table for discussion, then it could be amended or changed, altered, whatever you feel like, would make it better.
Would you be okay with that?
But then there we go. Agree again, digging in the pocket for a second time. So I think we should do it for one time and one time only.
There's the treasurer talking.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Council members, what do you feel? How do you feel about this? Are you ready to get a first reader done in Tuesday, or we would have to wait another month in order to do this?
I feel fine with the first reader on Tuesday. Just as long as the signage issue and demarcating the private from the event space is an important issue. And as long as we have that in there. I do think that the chart needs to be a little more, it's a minimum 4 hours, but 4 hours, you're 320, your deposit package, I'll just worry about there. As long as those changes are in there, yeah, I'd be ready.
Okay. All right, Councilperson Lee, what do you think?
I think that the councilwoman's position should be respected. It addresses the issue of always rushing. We've talked about it over and over again. Everything gets pushed up. There's gotta be a rush. So let's slow it down. Respectful position.
Okay, so sounds like 2-1, so. We're gonna have to wait a month for this. Okay. All right. But in the meantime, what are we gonna do? We're gonna make
I'm
sure we
gonna
have
work
what?
on this and try what we really need to do is, what I think we really need to do is look at our figures, try to bring a contract, but that may not be done real quick. But I think the contract needs to be self-explanatory, and we need to have all of this together before we're actually gonna present it in an ordinance and bringing it forward to agree on. And I know the fiscal year is gonna start in July, but we can't rush it. We just need to look at it. And when we're I'm saying this for myself, and I don't know if Councilman Lee and Lumpkins will agree with me, but when we want to do something, especially when it comes to this, I do feel like we need a time to think about it. I know we had this weekend, and I've looked at these numbers, but this hourly part, I really didn't look at it as just the hour. I know I wasn't looking at just $80 rental for a train station. I knew it was more, but I need time to think this through. And I actually wanted to hear the presentation about this chart and how it was gonna go with the contract. So if all the pieces could come together, then I'm not saying I'm not agreeing on it, but I would like to see the whole piece together.
Okay, so we need to, are you gonna email any other questions, Councilperson Fletcher,
I can,
that you have?
well, I would actually like to know, because it's getting near the end of the school year. I would like to attend, if this gonna come up in fees and fines again, I would like to be in attendance if possible.
Okay, when's our next fees and fines meeting?
I'd have to check the calendar of this isn't actually on the agenda. The Fees and Fines Committee is basically giving you their report.
Given this
Um,
is done.
We can address Councilman Fletcher's concerns just through staff sharing of information, but as far as going back and reviewing what we've already done, I don't think it's not scheduled to be back on the agenda for that committee. We could provide the rental, the new revised rental agreements and contracts and application forms and that sort of thing as they're developed. We just share that outright. But I don't think there's any, unless we're directed to, I don't think there's any interest on the committee's part to go back and review the numbers,
This is their
which was basically their charge.
charge, yeah.
Okay. But I still would like to know when the next fees and fines, if I can.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
I don't know if I've got it on my,
I think it's the 18th
look at it here.
When is it?
next week. The 18th.
18th.
The 18th.
I think that's Chairman Barfield. Does that sound right?
Sure. The first name is Barfield. It's usually at 10 o'clock. It's usually Wednesday at 10.
10 o'clock.
Wednesday at 10.
13th following Wednesday. And that wasn't that wasn't gonna be on there.
Okay, so is, Attorney Howarth, is she going to start, are you going to start writing any of the applications or at this
You
time?
have an application and a rental agreement. If staff wants to redline everything they think needs to be changed, then I can look at it. And I think what Ms. Fletcher wants to see is also just like a mock-up, like pretend somebody's renting Bird Park and needs X, Y, and Z, what would that maybe come out to fully understand how the fees work,
You
which
had
I'm
mentioned,
sure you can do.
you had mentioned that you may have some kind of boilerplate, rental agreements.
Worcester County, I know, uses one, Ocean City uses one. They have like a simpler one for like pavilions, and then they have one for like their bigger events, and I think the county's the same way. So we can definitely ask, if you guys just want to scratch yours, we can definitely reach out and ask for those. So you can see.
I actually was looking at some.
You're right, Ocean Pines might have one too. A lot of times they're set up sort of like the chart, like you check which things you need, and then.
And then,
the total
and
column
your
sort of-
total, and they just add it up, whatever you need. And like the pre-meetings that you would have with the event sponsor or whatever, yeah.
And a lot of the contracts for the larger, events may have to be, you know, almost like fill-inable.
That's what these ones
Right.
essentially are, which is
Yeah.
like, you check the things that you need, like Ocean City's like, do you need public works? Do you need security from the police department? Do you need this? And you check each thing you need, initial it, and then the cost column is right there to add
And
into
you
as well.
just put the number in there and then you can see how much.
Which kind of aligns with what your committee has created.
My
Like,
goals,
do
right.
you need
Yeah.
these things?
Right. And,
Here, just like this probably. I mean, that's just showing on the website,
right,
but
right,
that shows their hour and then it's showing like half a day.
perfect, okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, let's go to number 2 on the agenda. Review of trash collection policies. And, Mr. Barfield, you have some information on that. And we have some items on trash roll carts, et cetera, in our packets.
Right, everybody has them in the packet or whatever. Years ago, when the first administration also, so this in 2015, 16, where it was. The town decided to go where everybody had a roll-off cart, a town-owned cart. So downtown business is gonna have it, residents are gonna have it. How it ever happened or whatever, I don't know, but some of the downtown businesses ended up paying $60 a one-time fee. They do not pay a quarterly charge. Some of the downtown businesses haven't paid anything, because it's been so many different administrations coming in, they wouldn't do this, and that's all beside the point. You take your residents. Everybody had to have one roll cart. They were charged $20 a quarter. And gave them the option, if you look in here in 155-4 for collection of solid waste and food waste. So, number C says, all customer units shall be issued a roll-off cart and required to deposit all garbage and refuse in that cart. They also had the option, the council and mayor let them take and purchase their own additional cart, because a lot of homes, households have so many people, their children and all, they need more than one cart. As long as their cart was compatible to be dumped by our trash trucks, they can get it from Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever they decide to get it from, Walmart, as long as it be dumped by our trucks. And during that meeting, they asked me, when it come to my phone, they said, I need to speak to you all, we were done in the meeting, I told them, I said, y'all made a mistake. And they said, what is that? I said, because now it's very nice that you did that. They get your own can, not be charged, nothing to have it dumped every quarter, or every week, nothing charged a quarter. You're now dumping free trash every month. Some of them have, in the town here, it's between 80 and 100 cans that are not town cans that people have purchased. So you just gotta figure all that trash that you dump from them cans, because the town is not getting $20 a quarter for that can, you're dumping free trash. So what I would like to take and strike it out, if you go to 155-4. Oh, I'm sorry, 155-7. B. Property owners may use additional parts purchased from deep retail stores that are compatible, which I just telling y'all, for our trucks and all to operate by. I think that needs to be stricken out. Everybody has to have town cans. If you needed 2 cans, you pay for an additional can, $20 a quarter. Some of these people have 4, 5, 6 cans that are from the outside and only have 1 town can.
What, excuse me, what's it?
155-7B. There you go, right here.
Yeah.
I'll need it. That's what it says, that's the way it is, that's right now. That's the way it is right now. And as I gave each of y'all a copy of what the fees are for tipping fees for every item that can be dumped in that landfill. Trash, refuse, they got his refuse on there, if you look and see, it's $80 a ton. So you figure the residents that are using cans that they have purchased themselves. Well, they have 1 or 5 extra cans are now having free trash picked up. Which they pay through the water bill, it goes in the water rate, for the water bill. And they're not having to pay that, they're paying for the 1 can. So at the time, the town is now paying. Right. And I don't know, I called the gentleman yesterday, talked to him before 3 o'clock, he emailed me yesterday late on the day. And he's not sure if the fees are going up in 2025 or not, in July. As soon as, he finds out or knows, he's gonna let me know. But that's here and there, because you're still dumping free trash.
Have you checked lately how many cans that is? That doesn't have the town's name?
As I was saying, that was done within the last month. And it's between 75 and 100 cans in this town. And if you let them know if they know, have an inkling that you're gonna take and count how many on track rubber cans, they'll dump them out. That way you don't know. I went through this with Mayor Jewel. When she was here, this isn't the first time we've done this. And now we're to the point, prices have gone up since again. And then, myself personally, everybody ought to have paid for, if you got a trash can and you haven't trash dump, you ought to pay for trash. That's me.
Yeah.
It's totally up to you all to make a decision.
I was just getting ready.
And I'm telling you now, the cans, when we purchased them last time, and I spoke with Linnell the other day, it was 2021 or 2022, when we purchased cans, they were close to $100 a can. And I'm gonna have to give them a purchase on that. So you figure 100 cans is $10,000. I've been getting them 100 at a time when I get them. And I'm gonna have to get some for down to like 35, I don't know if I counted 35 or 50. That's what I have left, because we use a lot of them in hunting fields when they came. Well, here or there, I'm gonna purchase some cans either way, because I gotta have the ones that do get broke, where, stuff like that. I mean, we got to provide cans.
So you replace every can if it's broken, how do you,
If it's something on a can, if a can, just say something happens when you're dumping it. And you bust the lid on that can, I'll save one that the wheels might be bad on, I'll take the parts off that one, use for the other. When that can's no good, they just throw it out. There's nothing you can do with it. When the residents get the cans, they're not supposed to be marking on them.
I'm guilty,
You're not supposed to.
sorry.
It's right in here. It's all right in here, what you're supposed to do, but I don't
This
get it.
was before I was
No.
even reading, I just marked it, so when
If they
one
damage,
wind was blowing and.
if they damage the can, the town, it's up to them to replace that can, not the town. And when I say damage it, I mean, if you leave it, because it tells you right in here,
Mhm.
they're supposed to go out at a certain time and be brought back up 6 o'clock in the evening. Some people leave them out to the road all week long. Have storms that come by,
Yeah, the next time.
they go out in the road, they get run over. To me, I shouldn't have to replace that can. That's your negligence. I'm just saying. And if you read in here, it tells you if the trash in your can is not right, because you're not supposed to use any hazardous stuff, no motor oils, no paints, no nothing, and we've had it happen. If they do that, we're not even supposed to get it. And we done. Dog feed, animal feces. We've had your code enforcement on that, not just now, but in the past as well. But the tipping fees need, myself personally, you need to start charging for these cans, go away from the other cans. And they have to use town cans.
So how do we get this information out to the public? When do we want to start this? What do you?
No,
is
I'd
everybody
like to
thinking
wrote
about
a
it?
note here, especially about what he just said of putting in the cans.
It's all right in here. I
I
mean,
think
everybody.
It's almost time for that newsletter to go out, I believe.
Yes.
That would be a number one thing that I think should go in the newsletter.
And Mr. Councilman Fletcher, everybody who gets a can, like in, Honeyfields when they came. And if we know it's a new, you're saying somebody's water's been shut off because nobody's been renting it. And they didn't rent it out to somebody, so we go turn the water back on, they need a can. We take them the can. We give Melissa the information from the can and the house number. That person also gets a copy of when the trash, recycle, limbs, and all that, the days it will be picked up, and what you're supposed to do. So it's not like they don't know.
Are those rules on our website too?
No. Rick, I can't.
Yes.
So I
Yes,
don't-
they are.
Maybe I'm-
Larissa said they are.
But, and me personally, I think this should start, I mean, y'all wanna wait, this here, don't this is a weekly thing. This needs to go juvenile.
Well, I was actually, gonna mention something to you about, the amount of cans people have too. I also think, I know the water bill is going up, but I think people who have more than one can should be charged more. Leave that $20 fee for our can revenue, but I think some people have, some people
They're out
have
there.
3 and 4 can, I can't see, I barely can fit mine out. But some people have 3 and 4 cans
Well,
and
I'm gonna tell you now, being honest with you,
just,
I'm not gonna say residents or whoever. I do know in the parks, y'all have people that we're dumping trash here.
oh, I know, I've seen it,
Yeah.
that
Leave it alone.
take their trash and
Don't
take it
stop
to
and
the
burn
park,
in.
yes, I've seen that. I've seen it a
Yeah.
lot.
They take it to the park and.
Yes,
You put it in the,
We need a fine for that.
put it in the trash
Trash
cans that are in the park.
Okay.
I also had seen that, with watering stuff.
Yes.
That's another
they'll go to the park
subject that I need to
and.
bring up, but that's,
Would you restate your recommendation?
My recommendation is on 155-7. B. Where it talks about the property owners may use additional cans.
It's already crossed out.
Yes, it's already crossed out, right here.
That's a
I
lot
say this
for
is
you
not,
to
they won't
see.
take out, they cannot go purchase their own additional can. They all, if they need another can other than the one town originally has provided for them, they have to get an additional 1, 2, 3, how many cans they need from the town.
Does that recommendation require clarification to the degree that they are told that, or stated that they cannot use additional cans I mean, I understand very clearly what you're saying. But I think there needs to be some delineation or some statement there that this is against regulation or.
Town policy.
Okay, yeah. I would so move the recommendation with that caveat or with that inclusion to it, that there's a clear statement.
Exactly how this is put in here,
We're just getting consensus
right,
right now. We're
Exactly.
seeing if everybody agrees
Okay.
on it. So you agree with it? Okay.
you know, that's just what I want to make sure.
And we want to start it by July first.
I do.
30, I know. So, but council needs to
That's what I'm
decide,
saying.
how, you know, when you want it to start.
Can you tag? Can you tag the extra cans with the notice?
If they say, yes, we want to do this, I'll make sure there are things on every can, every household here, as we have done before, will be hand delivered to them and won't be put in the mailbox. They'll be carried to the houses, put in the door, taped on the cans, so they cannot, yes. And it will be put on,
That
Yeah.
that will begin July first.
yes, Snow Hill now, Amber, Dustin, Lori, whatever y'all do. I don't do that. I'm not putting it on Lori. Justin can do that. But
If you're striking this from the code, you need an ordinance, which we can do first reading next week. Your second reading would be July X, so it might be starting July 7th or whatever.
8th, I think.
It is July 8th. So your notice on the cans, the doors, July 8th. We're giving you notice that effective July 8th X.
it'd be the same thing we do with the people who are outside the corporate limits if we pick theirs up. They had any notice that they knew we were gonna get no
They're
can
going.
after this date.
And you could send it out maybe next week after you guys pass for first reading, if everybody's agreeable that you want me to draft it for first reading. Then that gives them 30 days.
If they will have this done or how, when y'all do it, then very next Tuesday, we get trash will be handed out that day.
So I don't want to muddy the waters, but what about the businesses?
The
Right.
businesses, every business ought to be paying our every quarter as well. I mean,
So there's a clarification I would like to make here.
That's fine.
Okay, because the ordinance says light commercial.
Yeah.
So technically, it's any business in the town of Snow Hill that is light commercial. Most of the light commercial is downtown. But even some of the downtown businesses utilize their own private, trash removal. So a lot of the restaurants, anybody who produces a lot of waste, they have their own removal. So this is not a break that is only to the downtown. It is for light commercial. With that said, in the fees and fines committee, we discussed everybody needs to pay their share. And some of I'll tell you right now, most of the businesses don't even realize that they're not paying. So this is not a benefit, that was made clear to them. So, you know, I think that it may come as a surprise, but the businesses that are aware that this change is, that there's a potential for this change, also realize that they need to pay too.
So it says all residential and light commercial properties,
Yes.
as defined in this chapter, are required to use the rollout carts provided by the town. And they're supposed to pay.
So what, I'm at third. Oh, okay.
155-7.
Yeah, but we went past 131.11.
Okay, what is that?
That's,
Oh, yeah.
that part.
So
I
that
see
says
the
residential
commercial,
and commercial.
right, the commercial is highlighted and light commercial properties, is that being taken out because it's crossed through?
I think that's the.
That's the
proposed
part
change.
that wants.
That's a proposed change, to have, just put commercial prop.
Right.
And so they would also have this starting July 1st. Is that what
Everybody.
we're saying?
July 1.
Okay,
July 8th.
July 8th.
Nine, technically nine, because the meeting is on the eighth.
And then practically on the 9th.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we got it. Mr. Lee has already said he's agreeable, or how are you? Are you agreeable with Councilperson Lumpkins? And Councilperson Fletcher, are you agreeable? Okay, we're good. We'll have
The
that.
staff noted the code does not define what like commercial properties is.
It's a really good question. I'm not entirely sure.
It does.
It does. Okay.
It
There is a
does.
definition.
There's a definition.
Is it a
Do
definition?
you know what it
that you guys
says?
I don't have it. I
Is it
brought it
just
to
a
one of the meetings,
business
but
or-
No,
Do you have it in there?
it's in the code.
Oh.
Okay, it says business entity within the town limits that generates a volume of solid waste that can be adequately accommodated by no more than 4 roll-off carts. Does that cover, do you think it covers?
No more than 4.
So what does Elliot's use? They use probably, is that 4 out there?
They have their
You
own,
would know.
But they also put trash out the front too.
I don't think so.
Sometimes I've seen it. I've seen it done. Yeah,
Mr. Barfield,
it sits right outside that door.
What about Alex?
how many trash cans?
How many ones in between the building?
Mm-hmm.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5.
Are those their trash cans or?
And they've got their own. Those cans that are there were originally put there for people to put boxes in, cardboard for recycling. So most time we get for recycled cardboard or whatever out of it. Sometimes you will have somebody that will dump their trash in it or whatever, but
I've seen that. That's why I was assuming,
when
but I,
Halston D had that restaurant, they put all the recycle out back up top. There's a place they had a building where they could put it at. And that's where they put it, but ever since Teddy came, they didn't do it, they wanted to have trash cans, you know, so they've been putting it there.
So the definition of commercial says no more than 4
Light
cans.
commercial says no more than 4.
Light commercial. Will that work?
Yeah.
Do we have to include in there provisions for other types of commercial?
Well, that's where I was sort of going, and your guys' page where 131-11 is this trash rollout cards. So now you just have it saying residential and commercial properties, $20 per quarter, any additional 20 per quarter. So do you guys intend that to be residential, light commercial and commercial, everybody?
I say everybody.
Okay, because if the light commercial is a defined term, we might want to put them in.
Places
List
we
that
don't charge
separately.
that have.
what this part is what they were trying to cut out. I just pulled up the code.
Yeah.
Here
Have
it
a
is.
service.
Oh, no, we don't have to.
So do we have a definition
That's
for
why-
commercial?
That's why they're trying to make sure.
No.
Yeah, we gotta check, you gotta allow for that. there.
And
Oh,
Maureen,
do we
No.
have commercial definition?
because you take a lot of these places, Heath Manor and Pleasant Manor and these other places here. They have their own trash collection. They're in the town limits, but they have nothing to do with our trash. We do nothing for it all for them. They have none of our cans. They either got Seagull or all of your apartment complexes, Caddy Mart, Chicken Man's. They have their own people that picks their trash up.
Should it say residential, light commercial, and any other commercial property with town service? Does any commercial property have town service? Is there any loophole there?
We don't want to look up. Oh. And you're attorney. How do you think it'll be there?
I'm just, if it has light commercial, do we have a definition for
it's not a
commercial?
definition for commercial.
Because if light commercial is 4 or less, then commercial would be more than that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's for the big carts. I think that's what it's referencing in one of the
These are roll-offs. they got.
amendments, like the big carts that have to get picked up, not the roll carts, but the big carts that have to be dumped.
They have
Like a
the big roll-off
dumpster.
carts that you got, you know, they're not the trash cans, nothing like that. These here are big trucks have to come get them, lower them off, and then come pick them up and dump.
There's a reference to that.
They're not trash, they're not,
Well, what we're thinking, how are we gonna word this is what we're looking at, so that it covers all we need, is the light commercial and the commercial good? Does commercial cover light commercial? No, because light commercial is defined. Okay. Would we have to define commercial?
Well, it
Also,
would have to be.
I think you
Put
put
in
in
there.
there,
under not in there.
trash rollout carts, residential, comma, light commercial, and any commercial properties that receive town service. Number one, per mandatory cart billed quarterly, $20. Additional town-owned carts, $20 per roll cart billed quarterly. So if there is anybody that is a commercial property
right,
that happens to have one or two town carts, they could get billed.
okay.
Is that good?
You all all right with it?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yes.
everybody,
I
good?
think that's hitting every corner.
Okay,
Cause I know I would have it worded right.
okay. All right. Okay, so that will come up for the first reading on Tuesday. All right, number 3, discussion of speeding and parking concerns. This came from Councilperson Fletcher. And, would you like to explain, or Rick, whichever one would like to explain what that means?
Well, the speeding, I had mentioned it to Chief McGee. I had some residents approach me about speeding, in the Dayton area, Dayton Ballpark Park area, Covington Street, Martin Street, and Washington Street. And they were talking about, if something could be done, maybe speed bumps, but something for people, especially the ballpark, Dayton area. They were talking about the safety for children, which children are on Martin Street too. And Washington Street is sidewalks on Washington. Martin, certain places is not. No sidewalks on Dayton or Ballpark. But, I've seen them, and I know they have to be going at least 45, 50 miles per hour. At Dayton, probably 70 or 80 one night. It was very scary. We were actually, I don't know if Councilman Lee was there, but it was actually a Bible study night. We were having Bible study inside of our church. And you could hear the roaring of the cars going by, and we were inside of our church. So I talked to Chief McGee about it, and he said that, he agrees. We also talked about the speeding of those, electric scooters going up and down and not being safe. So he said maybe we could bring it to the table and see what we could do. Maybe he brought up maybe the speed bumps you can pick up and move somewhere, but we would ask Randy to see if he could tell us about that and the liability
speed
or
bumps, you
what
can-
out there.
Take out there and put down and pick them up. If we come down there, they're gonna pick them up, we're not gonna have them.
Oh,
They won't leave them. We had them once, the reason I say that,
Yeah, Adam one.
in front of, I don't know if you were here or not, Andy, right there in front of the, firehouse on Ray Street. Before we put the permanent one, we had a temporary one we had put down there,
mhm.
and it didn't last. We got gone. It might have been before you came, Andy. That might have been when, Chief Davis was here.
So how are they that easy to pick up? I don't know what he was exactly talking about, but he says,
I have seen where you have the spikes where you can drive into the ground, where they have the holes into them. But still you go there with a crowbar or whatever, you can take, pull them right up. I'll do whatever y'all come up with. I'll go along and try to do to accommodate, I mean, however y'all want to do it. I mean, I'm sure I have to go out here and paving by the end of this month on some streets that that I've list I've got. If you're wanting speed bumps put there, you need to let me know ahead of time so I can get them, he can do it while he's here.
And some of these places, I will say, some of these streets already have, children at play
Oh,
or
yeah.
like the speed limit on these roads, but people just aren't obeying the speed limit. It's really not safe.
I've had conversations with the chief on the same thing. And these kids will be riding, jumping, holding these boys up here and riding on them. The speed bump thing offers a possibility. If theoretically, if you look at Dayton, for example, and down in the park where they do that racing. Are those things, when they put those in, as a strategically located with the intent of certain places that, you have to cause you to stop? How much are they? What's the cost?
So just in theory, each speed bump is a 6-foot section of curbage. And you would want 2 sections per speed bump. So you'd have 12 foot. Sometimes you put a little bit of a brake so a tire could go in between. They run anywhere between $400 and $500 a section. So you're looking at about $1,000 to purchase each section of speed bump. And then you're probably looking at another $500 just in the installation. Most of them now are glued down with some type of epoxy or some type of asphalt. The concern that I've had with Randy, talking to him in the past, is just when we do get a snowstorm, the guys got to remember that the speed bumps are there because the plow will take them right out. But yes, you would put them, the 2 places that come to mind on Maple Street where the child was struck by the car. That would be a primary location somewhere where there's no driveway that's marked with bump signs on either side. So when you're approaching that, you're notified that there's a speed bump there. Washington Street has been a huge concern about speeding between Powell Street and Morgan Run in that section of area. So again, that's a very high traffic area. You have to be very specific on where you put that in order to get some effect. Because you have stop signs there that slow them down through the town, but as they're going out of town, it speeds up. So short answer is yes, we would strategically place them somewhere that's going to have the most effect. Now on Ballpark Road, which is the backside of the park, we got enough potholes there that they have to speed bumps. But you don't get a ton of traffic on that road. You really get them coming around Dayton Avenue, coming down the hill, Maple Street. Martin Street is a thoroughfare for the cutover. Covington, we haven't seen high speeds, but I'm sure we know there's speed in there. But I defer to Randy on the installation because I just don't know enough about them. Lowe's and Buckmuck just put a few as you drive into there. They're epoxy down with some type of glue, but they're subject to weather conditions. If you get a heavy, hard winter, I'm sure the epoxy is going to break loose. It would just be something you'd have to maintain, but it's a solution to an immediate problem, where I can't put an officer at these locations 24/7 working speed enforcement. This certainly slows them down. Flip side of that is we put a speed bump right in front of the police department and they hit that at 25, 30 miles an hour sometimes. They just don't drivers just don't pay attention like they did. But I've noticed that the smaller speed bumps that have the smaller footprint make the most racket when you hit it. So the larger speed bumps don't do as bad. The shocks of your vehicle accept that. The smaller ones, they get your attention.
2 observations, if I may. Number one, summer's coming. And I think that as council person, we have an obligation to make some effort to deter this racing down to somebody at some point. And I don't want to be sitting here and say that when it came up, I did not speak on it and make some effort to prioritize and make some effort during the summer months, even if the snow comes and they get blown away. Number two, I think we're at risk or not good management, and I'm not saying it's being managed that way, but potholes in ballpark are not the way to manage speed. Folks, that is one of the greatest complaints that I hear when I'm up there. The question is, what's put to me is, well, why are potholes fixed everywhere and streets in the city except, okay?
I'm gonna answer your question.
And you,
I'm gonna answer your question right now. Number one, those potholes in Bird Park are fixed. Number two, the river floods so bad, it was flooded this past week. Right there is where it goes and comes in and out, and I noticed the park where you go in to go to the double boat ramp and go to Pavilions, it's from there, going back outside of the park.
I got you, I got it.
That's where it floods at. So bad, we can put it in. It's so low in there. I will have the quote tonight. The man's, I've already talked to him yesterday. They've already done all the measurement from Walnut and Ross Street, from Maple all the way to Market. And that parks, I spoke to Rick about it. So many people will complain. When I do, and I'm gonna do it, do I get mad or whatever? When I pave that right there and build it up about 4 inches and spend that money, and that part floods the very next month or the very next day, it all floods, and that asphalt don't stay there wholly a year, they're gonna say I wasted a load of the town's money. But like I told Rick, if the park's gonna be open to the people, to the public, the boat ramps, the pavilions, the potholes need to be fixed, and not just us going there and spending, we could go and use pallets at the time, a cold patch, fixing them right in that one area. It don't last no time and it's popping right out. It just don't work like that. These other places in town, we can saw cut it out, the asphalt's deep enough. We can go ahead and put the cold patch in and tap it and roll it, and it stays there for a good time. Well, that's the reason.
And I hear you, and I feel, I understand what you just said. However, there are some, this is almost like, you know, at some point saying that we're paying, we're good money beyond bad money.
Only good money after bad money.
Sometimes you're locked in a situation that you have nothing, can't do anything when you do. We're locked into that flooding situation. And then over and over and over again, we have to address compromise and taking risk and doing things that puts, yes, we know that this is a band-aid approach. That's the probably best way to say it. But there's some things that we just have to take band-aid approaches in. The people who participate and come there and live in that area understand that flooding is the issue. I've said that, you know, we've had this discussion, but I don't have an answer to it. You don't have the answer to it. We know what it's going to take to fix it. Money that we don't have, we're probably not going to be able to get our hands on for some time to come. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And my brother, we got to do it.
Oh, I'm gonna do it.
Steve, when you say that you're going to be paving some areas, and we could put a speed bump in there, but you need to know now, is that what you're saying?
Well, if you want to use a permanent speed bump,
Right,
I'll get the gentleman to take and do it when he's here.
okay,
I'll get up in the morning, give me a quote, what it's gonna be to put a 12-foot speed bump in there, and we'll tell him the height we want it.
okay,
And the streets, you want 2 on Dayton, 3 on Dayton, we'll put them there, Ross Street, Covington, wherever they want, y'all need to let me know where you want them, or
okay,
Andy can. How many you want? I'll get him to give me a price to take and do that, and what he'll do is do one side, probably one day, and then do the other side the next, to block the whole road off, to have access up and down that road. See what I'm saying?
do you want, right?
Or do you want to use a temporary?
Temporary,
Like Andy's talking about, I'll get the price on them and I'll see what's gonna be to have them installed.
do you have any idea what the price may be that you have you know,
For him?
estimated
For
before,
him doing it,
or, yeah,
a permanent one?
yeah. A piece as opposed to the $1,000.
Yeah, I see.
Put me out on a limb, but I'm gonna guarantee you, I can get it done cheaper than that.
A guesstimate,
I can get it done cheaper than that.
the 1,000,
I'm gonna say no.
oh, for permanent,
I will find out if you,
okay.
when I leave here tonight, I'll call Sam and ask.
Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
Well,
I just,
you
I
can get-
didn't know whether, you know, in the past you had a kind of a
No.
ballpark figure.
Are the permanent speed bumps less of an impact with, snowplows are concerned?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Cause it'll go less, the main thing.
Just roll over it.
with ours, yeah, cause we don't go, we keep our, I've raised them all up to about 1 inch to 2 inches high.
Mhm.
And your leak goes up top to the fire company and all, and they'd rather have some on the road than you get it down to the bare asphalt. And then that turns ice. And it's harder for them to maneuver without, so they're like, rather have 2 or 3 inches of snow, but we take it down to about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. If it gets to the ones that are like Andy's talking about, if you get into one of them, it's gonna pull it up. If you get it too low. Whereas with the other ones, go ahead and rot over the asphalt.
Okay, so chief, what do you think?
I'll do it
Best
either way you want.
For your guy.
When we talked, I told her I would defer to Randy.
Okay.
He's the one that's gonna have to operate with it.
Okay,
Only thing we're gonna be required to do is put signs up that say speed bump
the
ahead.
speed bump, okay,
So it makes no difference. The benefit of a portable is if we don't like it where it's working and we don't see, you just pop it up,
Pop
move
it
it
up.
to another location, sort of like a stop sign. You don't like the stop sign there, you just pop it down and
unless somebody takes it up in the middle of the night.
unless someone picks it up in the middle of the night. Yeah, which, I mean, I guess it could happen
Yeah.
if they got a blowtorch and make a lot of racket, so.
So council, what is your recommendation then? You've heard all the information.
I would recommend that we try a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Combination of both.
Councilperson Lumpkin, what do you think?
I have a question, because I live on Church Street and people fly up and down there, especially when high school lets out. And 12 is an evacuation route.
Yeah. State highway.
And so they can't put anything there. Because I've been, honestly, it has infuriated me to the point that I'd be willing to let the police come sit in my driveway and run traffic on Church.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous how people,
And there's speed cameras on church.
yeah, right up there by high school, they seem to want, as soon as they get around that bend,
Yeah,
boom.
it is.
And
So
there's a
you're
lot of
saying
children.
kids,
Yeah, the McAllister kids are out there. There's a lot of kids in my
I
neighborhood.
know, but I mean, you said at the end of school, are you talking about
Yeah,
kids driving or adults driving or?
Probably both.
it's probably both.
Okay.
People just tear through there and they do it, honestly, they do it late at night and it wakes me up, and I'm like, why are you doing 70 miles an hour?
I'll look it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you
Like I
think,
said, I've been
Councilperson Fletcher?
sitting in my driveway.
Whatever the recommendation of those two. But I think we need to do something on some of, at least 3 of those streets, because I mean, you even see some of it on Facebook, especially Washington Street. I see that all the time on Facebook about speeding.
The good news is you don't need an ordinance, you don't need a resolution.
That's
You
good.
just say, take care of it and we'll take care of it.
How much would the signs cost to with the,
They probably gone up a little bit. They're probably $100 a piece. If you get 2 double-sided signs that say bump or speed bump ahead, I'd have to check with county to see what they charge, because they would make them for it.
But you wouldn't do that with just a built-in, speed bump.
Well,
Only the temporary.
Temporary.
yeah,
Only the
I
temporary.
think if you put a permanent speed bump, you've got to mark it. You've got to have the yellow delineation lines. And you've got to have it almost like a traffic bar telling people, otherwise, middle of the night they hit it. You don't want that liability. So I think as long as you mark it appropriately, your authority is granted to you in the state code that gives you the authority to regulate that. So you
Okay,
just tell us how to do it. So
okay,
we can make this happen fairly quickly.
okay. All
So
right. Any other
It's quick and temporary.
solutions to this besides speed bumps?
5 more
Yeah.
officers.
thing is parking here on some of these streets. The parking on some of these streets is terrible. One more
Which one?
street again is Washington Street. It's bad. I thought I had read in the code, I haven't been back through it, but I had thought that I read somewhere, but it wasn't in there. I must was reading just online about parking. But I know I had read somewhere where it said, if you have a driveway, you should use your driveway to park your vehicles in instead of on the streets. We have a lot of streets in the town of Snow Hill that they aren't wide. And if people are parking on the streets, I will say, I live on Covington Street. And for instance, I think it was around Thanksgiving. I guess people had, different families over, but a lady got sick at one of the residents' house. And, one ambulance had came and I think they had to call for backup. Plus the officers was there. And with the amount of parking on that street, the ambulance couldn't even get out. One had to back all the way down. And they couldn't just go straight through. They had to back all the way out to the end of the street in order to get out. I have seen instances on Washington Street that it is, if somebody is coming down that street and you're going up the street, sometimes you can't wait on this side or it's not safe when you're going through.
It's across from the church there at the Davis Center. That's the worst place in the mornings.
Oh, yes.
I get called all the time.
Mhm,
School buses have a hard
School
time.
buses.
mhm.
And another place is on Green Street, right past the police department. Right there. We can't even get through the trash truck and recycle.
Perry Lawson's house.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got all that place there to park and,
Oh, Moore Street. I have seen Moore Street. Some mornings, the school bus goes through that street. And with people park on that, on the opposite side, they can't, and you have children that are walking. That's not safe. I
Orange Farms
don't know
another one.
which one.
Orange Farms another one right there coming off of, Division or whatever one that is there. When the guy has the, Orange Farms has the white Dodge Charger. Right there by the fire hydrant. He gets just far enough ways.
Oh, yes.
You
Uh-huh.
can't make the turn there. I used to work with him. I know who he is.
Yeah.
This place is a bad place.
I think appropriately, I know we've had many work sessions on parking. So I presented several reports to the council and the mayor at previous administrations about addressing 2-hour parking, downtown parking, permitted parking, off-street parking that we're dealing with. We probably need to bring that back to the forefront
Okay.
and determine whether or not we want to change some of the code to, as Ms. Fletcher said, making one-sided parking on the street only. Or something to that effect, but I mean, that's probably gonna be a lengthy discussion. That needs to be, and then you can encompass that with a lot of things. We've addressed the parking fees.
Mhm.
Now we just probably need to get into the weeds of the
Right.
ordinance itself,
Ordinance.
so.
Okay.
And if I can add to that, it's more than just parking. There are some intersections that are problematic, for the Bank Street project. There's one block on River Street in particular, we need to look at traffic flow. And so I don't want to get into, a bunch of details, without it being assigned to the work session, but there are a number of traffic related things that we've discussed previously a number of times, and now we're getting to a point where we need to kind of make some decisions. So I would
Yeah, it's getting close.
fully support and appreciate a work session to look
Okay.
at all of those
I need
topics.
to do that. All right. Right. Okay, good discussion. Thank you. Thank you all for all your input. I appreciate it and your expertise. So now we need to vote to convene in closed sessions. So thank you all very much, and you are excused at this point. You've been waiting for this, haven't you? And I thought you would just jump.
Last Tuesday, this Tuesday, coming Tuesday, I'm really feeling.
Oh, you are? Wow,
Next
that's
time we'll put
nice.
Santa for you.
Yeah. How about that, Renee? How about that?
I'm gonna leave to about. I don't think about. No, I do like.
Okay, see ya.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, we're going into closed session. I don't have Mr. Lee. Where do you go? Oh, with the bathroom?
And, let's go out, we got one.
Miss Alcott. I don't know what happened to my, I just charged it last night.
Oh, it's not. It goes down.
Yeah.
Mine does that sometimes. I get here and it's, I have to plug it in when I get here.
Yes, I did.
Charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The others can do the motion if you want.
Yeah, I can. Okay, I need to, get your vote to convene in closed session to consider personnel matters, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction. Do I have a motion to convene in closed session?
I make a motion to convene in closed session.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we are going into closed session.